Well, hello, Lindsay. How are you today?
Oh, I'm very well,
Good to see
Michael. And
you.
how are
Good.
you?
I'm fantastic. Good to see you again.
Good,
So
good.
welcome to the Joyful Life Project. As we were talking about, it's not clearly defined yet, and hopefully it will become more so. But let's jump right into this. And we've got two questions for you. The first question is what does living a joyful life mean to you?
Okay.
And this is unscripted, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely, it certainly is. Actually, it's a really good time to ask me that question.
Perfect.
So my life hasn't been joyful in the past, and then through some really big transformations, the majority of the time I have a real joyful life.
Right. Yeah.
The interesting thing is, and the way and the reason it's really interesting is that something happened at this weekend that I was very upset about. And in the past, that would have like really caused me a lot of angst and a lot of thinking, but actually it didn't. So I can still be joyful, and I still am joyful, even though there's things happening around me that is not of my choosing.
Mm.
And that's quite different, because it's not about, oh, everything needs to be happy, happy, happy. That's not what a joyful, for me, that's not what a joyful life is. That actually, go on.
No, well, I was just going to interject. I mean, that sounds like a superpower, that things around you don't necessarily have to be joyful, and you can still be joyful within a surrounding that is maybe not what people would describe as joyful. Can you say a little bit more about how that works for you, what you see there?
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask me what was happening.
No.
I was like, I'd rather not. I think it's knowing where my experience really does come from.
Mm.
It's knowing who I am.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually being at peace within myself and the world.
Mm.
I think it's also knowing that, it sounds a bit cliche, but it's once you kind of really realize is I actually create my life. And
Right.
and so me creating my life, and actually, even in the last year, it's been such a great journey, working with you and Dominic, and really kind of focusing on, well, what is it that I want? What is it that I want to create?
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of the essence of life. How do I want to be in life? And joy is it's always been really important to me. The word joy. So when you ask me if I would like to have this chat with you, it's just perfect, because joy is such a ingrained word for me. It's really, it's not happiness, it's joy. There's something different between happiness, and to me happiness is a kind of outside. Joy seems as if it's like really deep and the essence of who I am.
Oh, wow.
If that makes sense.
Joy. So there's a distinction between joy and happiness. And we're not saying this is true or factual, but so there's something different between happiness and joy. Happiness seems a little bit more external. Joy seems very much more internal. Can you say a little bit more about how that joy is internalized, or what makes joy internal, let's say?
Right, this might sound a bit weird. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So this cushion
Yes.
is a kind of deep pink. Okay, for you to be able to see that deep pink, it's made up of certain kind of colours. I don't know
Right.
what the physics is, but
Got it.
it's
Got
like,
it.
that's kind of different to say another, like kind of this, which is different. Okay.
Mhm.
So because it's deep pink, it's got some kind of pigments in it, that because of how my eyes work, it looks deep pink, and I presume it looks deep pink to you as well.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of there's the essence of who I am, the energy, the what I'm made up of, has that pigment of joy in it.
I like that. Yeah, that's really neat. Um, you want to finish that off a little bit more there?
Well, so therefore, I can't change that to being green, because it's always that's the cushion. The cushion's cover is deep pink, and so therefore the essence of who this entity called Lindsey is,
Right. Yeah.
part of it is joy.
Yeah,
And
I like that.
sometimes it's like kind of I forget, but it's still joy, even if like kind of I get into my personal thinking, there's still this essence of joy.
So that's and I don't want to, we want to keep these short, and I don't want to make this too deep, but what do you do when you forget?
Well, that's the great thing, is that I don't forget so much these
Mm,
days. And so that's why at the end of this weekend, it's a really good example, because I could have gone down this path of forgetting. And
right.
there were times where I felt upset. There was all, but it doesn't, it's just like a little bit of a shadow rather than a brick wall.
Mm.
Sorry, I do like metaphors.
Oh, no, they're good. And the hands are good too. Um,
Yeah. So it's kind of, kind of when you, like, you know that your name is Michael, you don't forget that.
yes. Yeah.
So it's a little bit like that.
So joy is something, what I'm hearing and what you're describing is that joy is an innate and intrinsic part of what we are.
Yeah.
So you know what? I think this is nice, because I think this sets up our second question really well, Lindsey. And again, with trying to keep these short. So what advice would you give to someone who is living a life right now that they would like to see become more joyful? That was a little clumsy. What advice would you give to someone who wants to live a more joyful life?
Well, first of all, it's for them to really understand, what does that mean?
Mm,
How would they know? How would they know that they have a joyful life? What
mm.
what would they notice about themselves?
So
What
that
would
sounds almost
somebody
like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lindsey. My apologies.
what would some what would somebody else notice about them?
Right.
So it's kind of really, you can't have a joyful life unless you know what that means.
Oh,
Otherwise, so otherwise, how would you know? How would you know that you're having a joyful life if you don't actually know what that means?
that's a good point. So how would you help someone help someone get clear on what is a joyful life, what is not a joyful life, so that they can then work towards having a more joyful life?
I suppose there's two angles really. One angle is that it's like, well, when have you had a joyful moment?
Right.
And what was that about? And really exploring that. So that's one element. And the other side is that actually we create. We're creative beings. So and it's amazing what we can create. So what if they could create it? What would that, it's like having a blank canvas. What would be there for them? And it's not about the outside. So this is about them. So what would it be like to create that? So it's kind of looking to their own experience.
Right.
And also looking to, hey, what about actually creating something within yourself? So it's kind of, you can play around with two angles really, and then really get to grasp of, well, what does having a joyful life mean, and how would you know?
I appreciate that, Lindsay, and I really like the idea of pointing or looking or noticing about times in one's life where one has felt joyful, and then using that. What I'm sort of hearing is using that as a springboard or as a platform to imagine or create. We'll use the word create. So from that recognition of, oh yeah, that was good, then can I now work towards creation or creating that in the future, let's say?
Yeah. And it's like kind of, it's more than to me, it's more than a feeling. It's an essence. It's so it's like kind of, and even though, what is the essence when we're kind of relaxed? What's the essence? What's going on there? And for them to notice that. Yeah.
Wow. Noticing the essence. I like that. I think I'll try some of that later on today and see what happens. I'll get back to you. Lindsay, anything else that you want to add to that? So, what does a joyful life mean to you? We kind of got that. Any advice? I love that, the crux of it is get in touch with an essence, with your essence. That's so cool.
And I really,
oh.
I really like that you're keeping these short and sweet, and I think people can then really have a nugget rather than get overwhelmed with lots of stuff. So yeah, it's good.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for participating. We'll see what happens. Words of wisdom from Lindsey Reed. Thank you so much. Or words of joy, maybe should we say, from Lindsey Reed. Love it. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Brilliant.
I'm going to close our recording now.
Brilliant.
1 sec. And